One thing that I do, set it to year to date on Shopify. Then I export all the locations that got a sale. Export the locations that got a sale, and I usually just do a regular sort tool for the whole sheet that you download. It could be a CSV or Excel file, and I sort from, the most sales of a product down to the lowest, but by location. And you could do this by state. That is invaluable because you're starting off with a small budget one, and you haven't done Google Ads, or maybe you're a store that's just brand new. All of these things probably will be the case if your budget is only 15 a day. Let's just face it, you have to play with a different set of rules. You can't go in with a 50, 100, 250, dollar a day budget and expect the same type of setup if you were to have a smaller budget. And this is the episode that we're talking about, is which campaigns should I run for a small budget e-commerce store. So you have to do things way more data driven and way more accurate. Hello, everybody. My name is Gene Villanos, and welcome to the PPC Cave. It's just going to be me for today. Unfortunately, our co-host Ryan Fenton is a little bit busy, but he will be joining us next time. And today we continue on with our series, Which Google Ads Campaigns Should I Run? And today is a solo episode, episode 12. We're going to talk about which campaign should I run for a small budget e-commerce store. So a little bit about me. I started in 2011 with Google Ads and e-commerce. I actually had my own men's thrift store online, and I needed to figure out a way to get traffic. And one way of getting traffic, as we know, is Google Ads, and I never looked back. So this is someone who is a Fiverr Pro and works for only e-commerce clients. I know Ryan does both, where he does e-commerce and lead gen, but for me, I specialize only in e-commerce Google Ads. And I want to give y'all a different take today, especially for those small budget e-commerce stores out there. And this method is pretty good if you have around $15 to $25 a day budget. That'll leave you close to, maybe under $1,000 a month. Between maybe $450 to $800 a month is your budget. This is a really good way to set up your campaign structure or your account for Google Ads without breaking the bank. And in this title itself, we're talking about which campaign should I run for a small budget e-commerce store. And I would like to preface it that this only works if you do exactly what I say. And what I mean by exactly what I say is I will go through the 3 different campaign types. And if you have all 3 running for a minimum of 3 months, you should see some type of traction. 3 months is a bit of a subjective number, but primarily around 3 months, you start seeing some traction in conversions or maybe even conversion volume, but sometimes it's even faster than that. But 3 months is kind of the minimum. It could be a little bit longer, but 3 months for me is baseline. So I usually set this up for a lot of my new clients that I get. I work with a lot of small e-commerce companies that might not have a huge budget from the get-go, or maybe you're a business owner that wants to start out small and kind of see if there's traction and momentum in what you're doing. So yeah, maybe you're a little bit apprehensive or hesitant with trying Google Ads. This is a really good way to kind of jump in, but not into the deep end, to kind of test the waters, as they say. So first, I would like to explain how important running a branded search campaign is for especially a small e-commerce store that may be starting out, or maybe you're starting out in PPC, and in this case starting out in Google Ads. I think brand search is really important, especially if you already have established or adequate sales through your Shopify, WooCommerce, Wix, whatever backend you use, or if you have an established brand, or established traffic already that's coming to your store. Maybe you're a specific e-commerce store that didn't really think about doing Google Ads until now, and you're trying to step it up and remain relevant with other competitors, but you know and understand that you get traffic already because you are established. I believe a brand search campaign is step one. And especially if you have competitors running on your particular brand name, I think that's even more important that you run a brand search campaign, even with a small budget. And like I said, we're working with a $15 to $25 a day budget. So if you did the math and backed into that number, the search campaign, in my opinion, should be at least 50 to 40% of your whole budget. And you could see we don't have a lot to work with. So if we had about $15 to $25 a day allocated for budget, I would maybe put like at least $10 just on search itself on a brand search campaign. One thing I also want to say, that brand search works really well for e-commerce stores that are in arbitrage. I know I have some clients that are in arbitrage that sell brands that are particularly like big brands or well-known brands. So it's important to make sure that we could get the highest purchase intent when it comes to search. I think that's the goal for all Google Ads, is you don't want to go after what we mentioned in the past, like a navigational search term or a search term looking to browse. So for example, I always use this example, Adidas basketball shoes or Adidas basketball shoes. If you're looking at basketball shoes, or if you're seeing search terms within that query that's a little bit, I would say less exact, where it's a little bit more broad, and you're not targeting the word Adidas or Adidas, you're only targeting basketball shoes in this particular brand search campaign, then it's not going to work, because the goal of it is to have that brand in the search keywords, in the search terms that's filing in. Because if you're not, then you're losing a lot of intent, if that makes sense. If I only have basketball shoes, that could mean so many different things. Just the brand inserted in there, it doesn't have to be Adidas. It could be Puma, it could be Nike. Provide such a higher intent because you're funneling down not just basketball shoes, but a particular brand. And when you search for a particular brand, you could kind of see almost like a persona of that person that's searching. And you just learn a lot more and will be able to qualify better traffic and more succinct traffic than if you were to just keep it broad with just basketball shoes. So especially if you're in arbitrage, you're selling well-known brands, do not miss out on money on the table, especially with a small budget, to have a brand search that's just phrase and exact running in the background. Another thing that I like to do with a brand search campaign that utilizes primary phrase and exact keywords is making sure that we're targeting Shopify locations. So you can do this on your Shopify, because I work primarily with Shopify, but whatever backend you have, it all works the same. There's always data. So what I would do is go to your year to date on Shopify. Make sure you have access to the analytics. If you're like me, you're handling multiple clients, sometimes there's that privacy that they want to keep. But as long as you explain to the client or the person that you're handling the account with, like, hey, this is something that I need to be able to analyze and do my job on Google Ads better, make sure you have access to the analytics. One thing that I do, set it to year to date on Shopify. Then I export all the locations that got a sale. Export the locations that got a sale, and I usually just do a regular sort tool for the whole sheet that you download. It could be a CSV or Excel file. And I sort from, the most sales of a product down to the lowest, but by location. And you could do this by state. That is invaluable because you're starting off with a small budget one, and you haven't done Google Ads, or maybe you're a store that's just brand new. All of these things probably will be the case if your budget is only 15 a day. Let's just face it, you have to play with a different set of rules. You can't go in with a 50, 100, 250, dollar a day budget and expect the same type of setup if you were to have a smaller budget. And this is the episode that we're talking about, is which campaigns should I run for a small budget e-commerce store. So you have to do things way more data driven and way more accurate, right? So like I said, go ahead, analyze the Shopify locations and target those locations within that brand search. And for me, if a week goes by and maybe I'm seeing impressions, but not clicks, or maybe 2 weeks go by and I see the clicks stagnant or even lower week over week, well, then that's time for me to slowly but surely increase the net of the locations and widen the net, as they say, for the locations. For me, what I usually look at is the top 5 to 10 states where my products have previously sold. And then I would put that in the location settings and just make sure that, those states are on Shopify or whatever backend you use, verified as states that have had previous conversions before, because that's valuable data. One thing that I never understood is, if you're going to run a shoestring budget Google Ads campaign and you start with the whole United States and you're getting clicks in Idaho and you've been in business for 5 years and just decided to start Google Ads right now, and you're getting clicks in Idaho, which is great, not to bash anyone in Idaho, but you've never sold a product there ever. But when you look into your Shopify, you look in your previous data, and you have maybe California that is 90% of your sales, but yet in your Google Ads, you don't target California, you target the whole United States, which maybe Idaho is taking up all of the click spend. Why are we doing that? So for me, I take the 5 to 10 states that have the most, sales either year to date, or if you're in business longer than that, you could mess or tweak with the parameter of time, whichever way you want. But the goal is to be data driven. If you have a small budget, start with that. Start with the 5 or 10. Usually when you look at those states, there's probably 3 to 5 states that get a bulk of your sales. And then you see that drop off where it's maybe, I don't know, 40 sales in the last year, 40, 30, 30, 20, 15, and then 4, and then 2. You don't want to mess with the 4 and 2. Just start with the ones that are, high volume sales. You've seen this traffic and traction on Google, or sorry, not on Google Ads, but on your Shopify or your backend store. You've seen sales there. So start there. And if the impressions and the clicks are just not wide enough, continue to increase that net, adding different states in, but be data driven is what I'm trying to get at. Another perspective, if you maybe don't have enough sales or traffic, or your brand is maybe just brand new, your domain is brand new. Well, what I would do instead of a brand search campaign for a small budget e-commerce store is start with a descriptive theme for your search campaign. This could be men's basketball shoes, just that one theme. Go in, create the ads, make sure that your final URL or your landing page is the men's section of your basketball shoes, not the kids, not the women's. start small in that regard. Or maybe it's another 3 word example. It could be wood compact saw. We're doing 3 words here to really maximize I would say, purchase intent. If you don't have brand as an option to qualify that purchase intent, then usually around the 3 word mark for search terms is really good. Another example from one of my clients, I'm not going to mention the website, but is black maxi dress. For all my fellas out there that don't know what black maxi dress is, I'm with you, brother, but I learned. So, black maxi dress is a good way to qualify uh, a search campaign if you have small budget and you can't use brand search, like your website or a particular brand that you're selling arbitrage. So, those are the 2 options that I would use, either brand search campaign if you have the volume, or descriptive qualifying terms theme, usually 3 keywords, either men's basketball shoes, wood compact saw, black maxi dress. Those will really qualify the type of traffic that you're receiving, and it needs to be as qualified as possible because, like I said, you're only using $15 to $25 a day budget. Of course, if you have more budget, that's fine. This works great too. This is just really showing how you could use Google Ads in a way where you have a budget that's not unlimited. I mean, no one has an unlimited budget, but you just have a small budget. This is a really good way and practice to just make sure that what you're getting as traffic is the traffic that you want. And also for search, do not use display or partners. I want to make that clear. Do not use display or partners. This will just feed into the irrelevancy. And in the beginning, you really want to play around with phrase and exact, although it might be a little bit higher spend, a higher cost per click. But for me, a higher cost per click, okay, yeah, I'm spending $2 a click, but I'm really looking at the back end to see conversion at that point because it is high intent, high purchase intent when you qualify through 3 keywords, 3 descriptive keywords, or incorporating the brand within that search term. I think it makes sense, right? For you to spend a little bit more just because you're getting that exact or that phrase match search term that you want, essentially. Next is your PMAX campaign. As we know, and we've talked about this a lot, search and PMAX go hand in hand. PMAX primarily relies on search. So that's why I said search first. All of these campaigns run well with each other, all 3 campaigns. And I'll just tell you, it's going to be a search campaign, performance max campaign, and standard shopping campaign. Running together, you can do, even if you had the lowest budget of 15 a day, you could do 5, 5, and 5. And it works well together. But I'm talking about performance max now. This, in my opinion, should be probably the lowest in regards to your budget. So if you have $25, I would do 10 on search, 10 on shopping, and then 5 on performance max. Of course, like I said, if you have higher budget, no problem. But I would only allocate about 5 to 10% of your budget to performance max, especially if you're just starting out. I know this particular episode is for a small budget e-commerce store, but maybe will fall under the same bucket or the same realm as a new store. So if you are a new store or you're new to Google Ads and you're cold and you haven't qualified any traffic yet, going straight into performance max and having lofty visions of the Google black box or the Google algorithm just taking over and giving you conversions is very, very faulty thinking. Don't think just because you put a lot of budget on performance max, but you haven't qualified traffic in your Google Ads account through manual ways where you could visualize and see the particular search terms file in, i.e., standard shopping, i.e. search, that you would see success is totally backwards. And I want to preface this because a lot of people ask Gene, well, why are you recommending Performance Max? And I'm not. I'm recommending Performance Max being in the stable of these three campaigns running adjacent, but not standalone. I would never recommend just a Performance Max campaign. Never. So for me, I would make sure that you have search, you have shopping, all working in tandem with Performance Max layered on top as you're remarketing, because Performance Max works so well when it comes to remarketing and following your audience around, especially if you fill out all your audience signals and make sure that your assets are aligned with the product and the search keywords that you have in your search campaign and the shopping search terms that you're letting in and not making negatives. It's as much as we want to say that there's all these different campaign types, it's true. But the goal of Performance Max is to take signals from your search campaign, embed it within the algorithm that Google has, and the same type of users that you're showing up for that historically have either converted on search or just in Performance Max or shopping or whatever campaign is in your account, and using those same signals as a stencil, right? And if you don't have that stencil, you don't have nothing to go by, then you're not going to have success in Performance Max. So I just really want to preface that is for this particular episode, this is the episode where I'm discussing which campaign should I run for a small budget e-commerce store. I don't say just run one of these or two of these, or, I'm saying all three need to run in unison together. This is, what I've seen in e-commerce in my experience work really well, especially with a small budget. So I just wanted to go on that little rant and make sure that I'm very clear. So if you do have a low Performance Max budget, I use this as a remarketing tool. It's basically a catch-all. So this will run in the background. Small budget, like I said, $5 a day, maybe 5 to 10% of your whole spend. And the first thing that I would do is create a catch-all campaign, meaning all your products, because we don't know what we don't know. If you're only having $15 to $25 a day budget, I'm guessing that this client or this account is either skeptical or just doesn't have the capacity to, really pour on the budget for Google Ads. So if that's the case, you have to make sure that we're firing on all cylinders and we're distributing the budget where we want, or not where we want, but where we could find qualified traffic first, and then just putting that extra $5 a day or 5 to 10% on top spend that you have on Performance Max, just because it's so capable and it could do things that manual cannot, and sometimes it's unexplainable. It's just what it is. It's unexplainable, but there are best practices. And one of the best practices that I would do, create a catch-all campaign, all of your products, make sure that you could itemize it through item ID. So if you see within a week, there's not enough clicks on this or not even any impressions, take it out. Because the last thing you want to do with a $5 a day Performance Max budget is spread it way too thin, which is probably already going to be spread way too thin. But to minimize that, make sure that you have the product item IDs all listed out, and you could exclude them as you go each week, each month, each 2 months, 3 months. You'll be able to see a pattern of where these items are in regards to impressions, clicks, and click-through rate. So the lower it is, if there's not enough impressions or not enough clicks, or the CTR is low, and you see other products within the same catch-all Performance Max campaign outperform, then give that particular budget, whatever you allocate, to those products that perform with higher clicks, higher CTR, higher impressions, and obviously higher conversions. So that's kind of the perspective that we're going to tackle this specific Performance Max campaign with. And the next thing that I would do, even if you don't have any data, make sure that you're going under that particular asset group and setting that catch-all asset group that you create with brand exclusions. One being Amazon, as they love to just advertise for the sake of advertising. A lot of the times Amazon will just advertise to keep traffic flowing, so they don't really care. And they probably have an unlimited budget, but you can't compete with that. So you have to make sure you don't show up on the same searches where they have Amazon in the search term. That's something that's really important, because that's a good way to just spend an extra $5 a day and not get much information and not get much traction, because you're showing up when Amazon is showing up, and it's really difficult to best Amazon. Another one is other platforms like eBay and Etsy. It just depends on what type of business or e-commerce store you are. But if you can somehow create or compile a brand exclusion list that's pretty detailed, where you have your Amazon, eBay, Etsy, it might take a little bit of digging, but this is where you have to go the extra mile, because you don't have the adequate budget. You have to do things more data driven. You have to fill out all of the headlines, descriptions, and promos, whatever it may be, just because you don't have the budget. So if you had the budget, you would have a different luxury. But if you don't, you have to do these things and make sure that you do these things like brand exclusions, or else, like I said before, Amazon, eBay, and Etsy will start to just show up when you show up, and you're just not going to get relevant traffic. Another thing that I would do is building off the search, or just not do, but another thing to remind you of is building off the search campaign success and qualified traffic. That's so important, right? If you don't see much conversion in the first month, 2 months, I understand. But once you're going into the third, fourth, fifth month, running a Performance Max campaign, you don't see anything, look directly to your search campaign. And if it has a big fat 0 on the search campaign, then disregard Performance Max, turn it off, and work on your search campaign first, especially after 3 months, right? Because that's adequate data. But if you start to see, okay, yeah, maybe there's 1 conversion, 2 conversions of Performance Max, but you see search a little bit of a laggard, where it's maybe 1, 2 every month, that's not enough volume to be helpful as an asset, supplemental asset to Performance Max optimization for you yet. So really focus and go back to your search campaign. I've mentioned this before, but that's from Google themselves, that your search campaign in the account, those signals will be taken and used by the Performance Max campaign. If you don't have any signals that are worth using, or you have low quality traffic from your search campaign, then expect the same from your Performance Max campaign. But my opinion, if you do what I'm telling you correctly, you will find some type of traction, and then you could keep that Performance Max campaign on. And like I said in this segment, it's going to be best used as a remarketing campaign. All right, next. So for shopping, the very last, standard shopping, you have your search, brand search campaign, or your qualified 3 keyword campaign. And then you have your Performance Max campaign, where you're running that as like a remarketing campaign, putting as many audience signals in there, filling out all the item descriptions, all the assets, images, videos, all of that, making sure that that's in there. And thirdly is shopping. And I think for e-commerce, you can't go wrong with running a standard shopping campaign, even in this day and age. And don't be fooled if maybe you are running a particular e-commerce store Google Ads campaign or Google Ads account, you're running that, and you start seeing maybe even Performance Max outperform shopping, right? I wouldn't turn shopping off, especially if you're getting, conversions. I think just shopping right now is a very valuable part of this 3 campaign tier for small budget e-commerce stores, because I've seen great performance max um, results in my e-commerce clients' uh, Google Ads account. And then I see in the same month the shopping is doing terrible. Oh, what's going on? It's not even spending the full budget. It's not, but as long as you're on the search terms that you believe is providing you quality traffic, and you're not letting any search terms slip in between the cracks that's just taking budget to take budget without any return on investment, I think running a shopping campaign is still important, even in 2024 and in the future. It doesn't matter. It's just super important, because I've seen where Performance Max really just does a great job and shopping does a terrible job, but maybe 4 or 5 months down the road, out of nowhere, shopping just goes crazy and gets a wonderful conversion value over cost or return on ad spend. And it's always going to be there humming in the background. And I believe down the road, maybe it's not, standard shopping campaign is probably not going to be around anymore. But if we have that still today, I would just suggest you to keep it. It's just super rare, especially now in this day and age, right, with Google Ads, to have something that is just you could just qualify through search terms or disqualify through negative. That's super important. So the biggest thing, if you have a small budget and you're an e-commerce store and you're jumping on Google Ads, is you have to do all that you can to provide a perceived deal to the searcher. What is a perceived deal? It's a deal that may not be a deal, but you make it look like so. Example, I don't think this is black hat or anything controversial. This is marketing and advertising 101. Create 50% strikeouts, right? If you have a particular product that sells for $50, make it the original listing $120 and then strike through 50%, right? Original listing is $120. I don't know what I said earlier, if it's $60, let's just say $60. That's your price. You've done all the math. That's where you make a good margin at regarding all the fees. If $60 is your price, times it by 120 and create a 50% off promo code on shopping. And I guarantee you're going to be on that top list on Google Shopping, just because that is a heavy discount. And Google's going to pick up on that and see the promo code. They're going to match it to your content on your website. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's legit. They're selling it for $60. And it says right here that it's original price $120. Some people are going to catch on. They're going to be like, oh, well, man, there's no way this mitten is $120 and this $50 only going for $60. But majority of people don't really care about that. Majority of people are going to look and see that strikeout or see that 50% and say, okay, I'm getting a deal. My perception is reality. I'm getting a deal here. So that's one. Another thing is free shipping. I don't understand anyone in 2024 that's just not baking in their shipping price into the actual list price on the website. If your shipping is flat rate, I don't know, $5-10, tack that on. We all see the funny memes. Shoes $300, hat $100, belt $50, shipping $9.99. Not gonna buy it. And with all memes and all comedy, there's always some form of truth in it. So another way to create a perceived deal is free shipping. All right, next, you want to make sure, another thing with free shipping is sometimes if you have the API, the content API, like you could download the YouTube and Google app on Shopify. I know I'm talking just Shopify, but this is just my bread and butter. This is what I use. If you have that app that's feeding all your information from your Shopify to your Google Merchant Center, make sure that your shipping times are correct. You can look at your shipper, your scorecard on Google Merchant Center. You could see the average time, or you could just Google your product. I usually do that, for my clients, where I'm gonna Google the product, and you'll see it on shopping. It'll say receive this item by today is what, April 13th. It'll say receive this item by April 30th. You know, and if that's not right, if that's not correct, and for a fact somehow that this is when I ship an item, it's one business day, and we do priority mail for everything, 2 to 3 days. Well, especially if you have a flat rate and you're maybe using a particular 2 to 3 priority mail or UPS ground, 5-day UPS ground. I'm not sure how UK Europe does it. I'm only speaking from the US perspective. If you have that, and even in your shipping page on your website, it says, okay, 1-day handling, we use priority mail or UPS ground 5-day, then just create a manual. Instead of running the content API on your shipping settings, set it to manual and put, okay, the handling cutoff is, I don't know, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, and it takes between 3 to 5 business days. Put that in there, and I guarantee that'll not increase, that will decrease the shipping time, shipping period. So if today, like I said, is April 13th, and it was to say, oh, I'm going to get this product on 4:30, and that that's not right, well, just make it manual, and it's going to be faster. It's going to show up. So if I order something the 13th, there's one business day handling. That's your setting. So technically, if something was ordered on 13, one business day will be the 15. It'll ship 16, and so 2 to 3 priority mail, whatever it may be, or 5-day ground. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that should be arriving between April 22nd to maybe the 23rd. And that's way better than it saying arriving April 30th, right? And sometimes that happens, especially if you're using that content API, because Google is just tracking, I don't even know how they track it, but obviously they're using your Shopify store. And sometimes it's just inaccurate. I've seen that with multiple clients where it's actually delayed. The product and the shipping and handling time is way shorter, and for a fact, I know that it's way shorter, or I could see you have examples. Well, then just do it manually, so you're not reliant on that content API that may be incorrect, and you might be losing sales to competitors right next to you on Google Shopping that's advertising a faster shipping time. So that's it for shipping time. Okay. Next is making sure for the shopping, you're creating a bestseller and themed shopping campaign. That's really important. I like to individualize product IDs. If it's a bestseller, go into your backend, compile that bestseller. It could be 30, 60, 90 year to date, 30, 60 days, 90 days, year to date. I kind of like to look at those 4 different lenses, because, the last 30 days might show you something from your bestsellers that a year from ago won't, or a year to date won't, or a 90-day won't. So it's really good to have multiple different parameters of how you look at time and how you look at these bestsellers, but make sure that those products are individualized. Make sure those products are individualized, because you already have a catch-all campaign for Performance Max. You have a brand or search campaign that primarily will just go maybe to the homepage. And I know you don't like going to the homepage. That's fine. It's not like people don't or can't convert when they're going to the homepage. It's really more so what the search keywords are, right? If it's a generic search keyword, and you're going a generic search keyword plus a generic final URL, which is your homepage, well, then you're just not qualifying anyone. But if you have particular search keywords like black maxi dress, and your store sells only black maxi dress, and you go to the homepage, well, that's still a theme. That's still something that can be qualified. Just make sure that you're not too broad with the search terms to qualify on search. And I'm jumping on a tangent here. Where's Ryan when you need him, to try to get me back on track? But anyway, going back to shopping. For me, individualize the product IDs with the best sellers or a particular theme, and build small. It doesn't have to be 30 products. It could be 5 or 10. Like we said before, you have a small budget here, so you have to really work within the means that you're provided. And if it's only 15 or 25 a day, you have to really be granular. Be granular. And another way to be granular is, once you do have these products in, you start seeing traffic, hopefully you start seeing clicks and conversions, make sure that you check Google Merchant Center. Especially for shopping, Google Merchant Center is your best friend. You have to look. One thing that I look at the most is, on the left hand side on Google Merchant Center, you could look at performance, and then you could look at competitive visibility. So go to the left side, click performance, and click competitive visibility. Then you'll be able to see businesses with similar visibility. And you'll probably see Amazon or eBay, just because they're always advertising, or whatever niche you're in, you'll start seeing your competitors. Make sure you put those URLs with similar visibility in your brand exclusion Performance Max list. So yeah, that's why I believe running all these different types of campaigns together, search, Performance Max, and shopping, is the best way if you have a small budget. Because you could use, maybe like shopping, you could use shopping insights to optimize your Performance Max insights. And we already know what search does with Performance Max. If you can optimize your search, your Performance Max will definitely be optimized as well, because they work in tandem with each other regarding the signals. So it's really important. Most of the times I see clients that have small budgets only run one campaign, and you're putting your eggs all in one basket. A lot of times, for me, what I see, that doesn't work, because it's like a Hail Mary. You have one shot. All $30 or all $25 is in one Performance Max campaign, or one search campaign, or one shopping campaign. Granted, it works, but for me, I love to be able to see, okay, this is what we're doing on shopping. This is what we're doing on Performance Max. This is what we're doing on search. How do we create value amongst the 3 different campaigns to synergize off each other, right? To use this data point here, this data point there. You have 3 different levels of attack with a search, Performance Max, and shopping campaign. So a little bit off tangent also, but yeah, that's definitely something that you should look into, is your competitive visibility. Look at the businesses with a similar visibility and exclude those businesses, so you don't show up with those businesses that are competitors on Google Ads on your Performance Max brand exclusion list. Next is prune the bestseller theme list. That's why I have you itemize it, where it's particular product items. You have your particular product, you add it, not just all products. Because if you don't have that, you can't prune your list. You can't take out products that don't get clicks, or maybe it's getting clicks but no conversions. You can't take those out. So make sure that you take that out. Your budget is small, so you have to make sure that you're trying to get to that very baseline. Even if it's one product that's continuously selling, or 2 products, you want to get to that point. You don't have the luxury to maybe have 10 or 15 products that you're testing. You want to get to that one baseline point where it's maybe 1 to 4 or 5 products that are doing really well, and that's what you build off of. Next is no display and partners. I've already discussed why in search during our search section. And next is be diligent with your negatives. Being diligent with your negatives in your search term report for a standard shopping campaign is very important, because that's all you have. You don't have much to optimize it other than Google Merchant Center. Another way is to make sure you're on top of your negative Make sure you're creating negative keywords for products that are irrelevant. Maybe it's not part of your offering, or maybe you don't have uh, this particular product in stock, whatever it may be. If you don't have it, don't show up for it on your shopping search terms. You know, disqualify it, make it negative. Another thing that I would say is just make sure, even though you want to be on top of your negative keywords, you don't want to choke all the traffic out. What does that mean? Let's go back to our example. Sorry, fellas, if this black maxi dress is just not, I'll just tell you. Okay, fellas, if you don't know what a maxi dress is, okay, this is what a maxi dress is. A woman's dress or someone's dress, doesn't have to be a woman anymore, but someone's dress that is long, from basically goes to your ankles. All right, midi is usually around your knees, and mini obviously is above your knees. Don't ask me why I know this. One of my clients is in this particular industry. So if you have black maxi dress, that's your goal. You know, you have a wide variety of black maxi dresses on your website. Or maybe you know that you have a particular landing page that's black maxi dress. In the beginning, in Google Shopping, for your search terms, maybe it'll be black dress, or maybe it'll be black mini dress. As long as it's not taking valuable clicks or getting clicked multiple times a day, leave that in. But as soon as you see the word maxi, or maybe like maxi dress, and your goal is a black maxi dress, then go ahead and create negative keyword for black mini dress, or you know the phrase negative keyword with quotes around black dress. Because you don't want that particular phrase. You want to make sure that you have the word maxi in there, because that's kind of like the qualifying search term. So yeah, make sure that you're diligent with your negatives, and you have to kind of be that way for something like this. If you have a small shoestring budget for an e-commerce store, just make sure that you're on top of it and run these three together and see. I would give it at least 3 months, run it together. I know sometimes it's just not going to work out, but at least you're placing your bets on three different campaign types that, in my opinion, together just evens everything out. You're not too heavy on automated. You're not too heavy just on manual. You kind of have the best of both worlds, or the best of all three worlds, I guess, since there's search, shop, standard shopping, and performance max. And it works well together. I don't know how many of my clients have this same structure, but it really works. And I've seen it work for my e-commerce clients that have a huge budget, and e-commerce clients that don't have a big budget, that maybe, like I said, has $15 to $25 a day budget. But the biggest key to this is, if you do see traction in any of those areas, PMAX, search, or shopping, understand what the catalyst is and continue to increase that budget, because it's in the name PPC, pay per click. When Google sees you increase that budget, it's like, okay, they want more of the same, and more of the same could mean positive or negative. So hopefully you're increasing that budget when you see more conversions, you see a return on ad spend that is holding consistent, maybe see conversion volume either increasing or holding constant to where you're comfortable at. Increase that budget, because the goal of Google Ads is not to see that limited by budget, and you're running several months and you're getting the campaigns, or you're getting the return that you want. You're not increasing it. I think you're leaving a lot of money on the table for scale there. So that's really important for you to be open to have, okay, this is the return on ad spend that I'm okay with, keeping this certain budget. And this is the return on ad spend that I'm comfortable with, continually increasing the budget. So I think that's really important. But yeah, this is my solo episode of which campaigns should I run for a small budget e-commerce store. I know we're very detailed here, and a lot of this is a nuanced conversation. Some people might disagree on some tactics here, but I think Google Ads is just ever evolving. There's so many ways to skin a cat. There's so many ways to do it. But for me, I only talk about the experience that I know and that I've seen with my clients uh, from a primary perspective. And if you ever want to check me out, I'm at genevillanos.com and you could take a look there. I'm on Gene Villanos on Instagram, LinkedIn, uh, X, everywhere. And I try to provide as much credibility as possible so that if you hear me talking, you're not just like, who is this guy? Why is he telling me to run a PMAX campaign at $5 a day? Trust me, it'll work. It'll work. You just got to give it time, and you just got to continue to optimize and learn more about your product and your offering, learn more about the people that's searching, and that's kind of the jigsaw puzzle of Google Ads. And that's why I love doing Google Ads. It's a challenge to me. If you want to connect, I'm there at genevillanos.com. Again, Ryan has his own website. We'll put it in descriptions. And if you have any questions, email us at the PPC Cave at gmail.com. We're at the PPC Cave on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We do this podcast every Monday. We'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe to us. I see a lot of people out there looking at those reels and you're not subscribed, but you keep looking at them. So I don't know why you just don't subscribe. Okay. So it really helps us and we appreciate the support, and have a good one. And we will talk to everybody soon.